Was Thoth a walk-in at times, you think?
It's very possible. He could be multidimensional. I mean, he often talked about being able to go through portals into other dimensions and also visit other planets. One thing about him is that he had talked about developing these avatar bodies. So I believe that he was a physical being because he would transfer his consciousness from one avatar body to the next. So he would go into an avatar body, which is just like in the movie Avatar, unbelievably, a humanoid body, and he would walk, he said he would walk amongst men. And then while he was in that body, the other body he left, he would put in the halls of Amenti underneath the Great Pyramid in these chambers, which they just found, chambers about a mile deep underneath the Great Pyramid. They're really there. This is just recently, a recent discovery. Yeah. And in the halls of Amenti were these rejuvenation chambers, and he would put the body in there for 100 years while he walked amongst men and did whatever else he did. Then he would come back, and he claimed to have done this 100 times. So that's 100,000 years alone, just 100,000 years of him transferring from body to body, walking amongst men. Other evidence that shows that he was a physical person was the fact that he had ruled, documented now in the Egyptian hieroglyphs, ruled over Egypt for 14,000 years in the ancient past. He also was seen by people in Mesoamerica. When he left Africa, he took Olmecs with him, African Olmecs, and they went and kickstarted the Teotihuacan civilization in Mexico, where he was seen by people like the Mayans and the Aztecs and everything else, and he was called Viracocha, Quetzalcoatl,
How did they recognize him?
Well, they didn't recognize him as far as knowing that he was Thoth, but he came there with his magic science, which translates into advanced technology, and his architecture. He was there, he became their god. In other words, he never wanted to be called a god, but they deified him because they couldn't, a less advanced civilization, when they look at somebody that's that high tech and that advanced, they automatically believe it's a god. So they became cargo cults. The Mayans, the Aztecs, they became cargo cults of the Teotihuacans, who were an advanced Atlantean civilization that came across from Africa, led by Thoth, and started building an advanced civilization there. The Mayans actually never built anything in Mexico. The Mayans came and inherited what the Teotihuacan had already left behind. And then that's when they deified Thoth as a god. But Quetzalcoatl, they call him Viracocha, he's been Kukulkan, he's been Lord Bacal, he's been all these different names. People have seen him, they've described him. Yeah, he kickstarted that civilization, not only there, but in other places around the world. We're talking everywhere from Cambodia, all over Asia, Australia. If you go to Australia, there's etchings of Thoth from Egypt in Australia into clay that was hardened in Australia. There's an Egyptian temple partially buried in Karyong 9 in Australia that has Egyptian hieroglyphs that date back tens of thousands of years, where it shows that Egyptians were leaving Egypt and going to Australia to talk to the Aborigine people to get knowledge and wisdom from the Aborigines, who were the first people that they claim were here and that came from the Pleiadians. So it's just, the story is huge. And when I went to Egypt in 2014, the story of two brothers going to Australia and one dying from a snake bite and the brother bringing him back was the finishing of the story was in Egypt when I got there. So it was an amazing closed circle there, showing that they had really gone and come back. And of course the temple is still there.
By Compendium of the Emerald Tablets by Billy Carson.